You knew it, I knew it, even the pigs probably knew it. A game starring them was only a matter of time. Some kind of game involving the pigs was inevitable. That's a direct quote from Bad Piggies lead designer Markus Tuppurainen, and a sentiment that nearly all AB fans shared in period. Rovio had taken us through a plethora of holidays, a movie tie-in, and even a trip to outer space. But would we ever experience a game from the pig's perspective? It was such an obvious premise for a spin-off that I'm surprised it wasn't capitalized on sooner. Fans dreamed of a tower defense spin-off, a fortress construction type game. But let's be honest, that idea was a little too on the snout. Building structures and defending from projectiles, not saying it wouldn't be a lot of fun, but Rovio had a knack for taking creative and unique approaches to game design, hence all their success during the Angry Birds era. Bad Piggies launched globally on September 27, 2012, and its release was met with both excitement and curiosity, with fans eager to truly explore the world from the pig side for the very first time. It's something they had been craving for a few years at that point, but the core gameplay at Bad Piggies seemingly threw everybody for a loop. There was plenty of construction and destruction, but rather than being on the defense, the pigs were the aggressors. Going back to hatching a universe for a second, I love Tuppurainen's perspective on this. He claimed that the game had two-level gameplay. First, you're building the machine on the grid, and then you pilot the machine into the goal area. Therein lies the genius of Bad Piggies game design, offering a multi-layered experience that not only challenged gamers, but also fit well within the scope of the AB universe. The premise, when you really think about it, is tailor-made for the mischievous piggies, using what little brainpower they have to build and man the goofiest, flimsiest contraptions you can possibly envision. And in the process, you'll have an absolute blast, perhaps literally, designing these vehicles to traverse the environments and ultimately reach the goal. And like the original Angry Birds, part of the enjoyment is trial and error. Quote, "The design ideology was that failing has to be as much fun as succeeding." And I think that hits the nail on the head. When replaying the game just for this video, which mind you was the first time I'd gone through it since its heyday, I found myself openly chuckling as my contraptions miraculously failed or succeeded. Maybe it was the sound effects, that iconic tune, or my pig emoting throughout the attempt, who knows. And I say failed in a relative sense because there's literally no way to fail, as the game lacks a typical fail screen you might have come to expect from Rovio. It's a slower game, that's for sure, rewarding creative thinking in a way no slingshot title can match. And to a degree, there's a certain level of mastery to each level, because in order to earn the full 3 stars, you must complete the side goals like finishing under a certain time, keeping your vehicle in one piece, or commonly smashing a special box. You often have to make use of all the wheels, fans, balloons, and soda bottles provided to complete them all, which may not be feasible in one go, though as we've established, setting up the vehicle is only half the story. You then have to take control, tapping buttons that activate the components, such as firing up an engine or lighting a firework for extra propulsion. The unfortunate pig tasked with piloting such death traps? A freckled minion named Ross, a distinctly youthful swine eager to make his king happy. Helping him along the way is his trusty engineer, the mechanic pig, who is indeed always there to fix it. Together, they just maybe can finally get King Pig those delicious eggs he desperately wants his lips on. Even he might tag along with Ross on occasion. And even on the off chance they're not successful, Ross could always help Chef Pig retrieve cakes scattered throughout the levels to keep Smooth Cheeks occupied. Critics praised Rovio for taking a creative risk, and the game quickly shot up to the top of the App Store charts, even displacing Angry Birds in some markets. This successful launch reaffirmed Rovio's dominance in mobile gaming, and showed that the franchise had the flexibility to evolve. Given this acclaim, you'd expect this title to receive all sorts of animation adaptations and merchandise lines to make a few more bucks on the side. Given Rovio's brand strategy up to that point, it would be a major upset if there wasn't anything made to complement the app. So let's check in and see what they cooked up. Okay, so much for that. Moving on. But Maximus, what about the Rovio books? Right, those glorified artwork dumps. They're neat, don't get me wrong, but last I checked, nobody is displaying their collection of coloring books as if they're Picasso. How about the Tactic Power Cards? No wait, those were cancelled. How about the t-shirts? Always gotta have a couple of those, right? Meh, acceptable. Ah, my Finnish residents, I hear you. The Revolution Scooter, oh, who am I kidding? This fucking blows. The Shuffle and Spawn record and that press kit Chef Pig pizza box with Apocalyptica maybe are only saving graces. At the very least, let's get Connects or something to make playsets where you build the contraptions from the game. Does that idea sound far-fetched? And obviously, as the plush machismo around here, I would adore a Ross and Mechanic alongside my hundreds of Commonwealths. The 2-pack was right there. You're telling me nobody capitalized on this? The game reached 100 million downloads in just 2 years for pig's sake. You could easily sell more than a one-off scooter and cobble together sticker books. There was an extensive brand portfolio made for the game too, once again put together by Tony Ksenius. And all that for what? A Facebook page? That's pretty lame. Did nobody see the potential of the spin-off? Or did Rovio not push licensees to make product for the game simply because the title lacked the words angry in birds? Yeah, I guess we just have to accept that. And so there you have it. A merchandise line that doesn't exist. You could have Ross, the Mechanic Pig, Chef Pig, all those Halloween costumes. Holy shit, Ross and Mechanic Pig! I mean, this is the stuff of legend, and as suspected, there's nothing terribly ambitious here, but there's just enough small changes over the standard minion where you immediately recognize them. For instance, Ross is your standard minion pig, if you squint. But give him an embroidered grin and a sprinkle of freckles and boom, iconic. He appears to have been sampled after Mechanic, given he got a 4th gen label while Mechanic got a 3rd gen. It's fair to assume they were made during the transition between the two, which would make sense given the time period we're talking about. Though it's also fair to assume that these two were going to get their own sewn-in labels with the Bad Piggies logo, and these Angry Bird ones were merely placeholders. Taking a look at Mechanic Pig, I'm so glad they went with this particular facial expression. It's that cheeky side-eye that was used in plenty of promotional material. The cap and wrench are nothing special, but again, they just work for me. Not looking for a metallic wrench accessory, the felt one does just fine, and it would have been fairly sturdy. Now, I'm not seeing any evidence that other characters from Bad Piggies were created, but what if I told you these two weren't for Bad Piggies? Instead, they were half of a larger 4-character assortment, quite similar in ethos to the original accessorized pigs. Except this time, it's even better. Professor Pig and Chronicler Pig. Easily some of the most interesting samples we've seen yet. Right up there with the Mighty Dragon in my opinion. For those unfamiliar with these characters, because they are extremely niche, Professor is best known for his Toons era appearances. I'm talking the literal cartoon in Epic. Comic enthusiasts should be familiar with him too. The official guide ranks him as the most intelligent piggy, so his role within society isn't in jest, unlike his king. The only classic title he shows his face in is Seasons, but only on the trivia pages for On Thin Ice. And again, they use the Toons design, which is clearly different from the plush you see before you. The plush is indeed based on the classic design, a render that only showed up in Rovio books as well as the personality test. It was a blink and you'll miss it event, but this was one of those personality tests that I'm sure you've taken at least once before. You'll be asked a series of questions, and based on your responses, you'll be matched to the closest Angry Bird character. Among the possible outcomes was the Professor Pig, which is where this plush was derived. This test also happens to be where the classic Chronicler made his debut. Though, like the Professor, he's probably more well known for his Toons appearances. Also, like the Professor, Chronicler is ranked amongst the most wise piggies, ensuring the pigs adhere to their historical customs. Both clearly serve important roles in pig society. but objectively are tertiary characters and probably not best suited for merchandise. But when you're Commonwealth, whose goal was to sell a wide variety of characters to fans, they were just prominent enough to give it a try. The plushies themselves are something else, where the facial embroidery really brings them to life. Just looking at their renders, you might be tempted to design the plushies with separate glasses attachments, perhaps made of felt. Instead, the designers went for full embroidery that is just subtle enough to not be overly distracting. On Chronicler in particular, the lenses are pronounced by using a different shade of green material. These two are the oldest piggies in society, and though with age comes wisdom, wrinkles, spots, and gray hair follow suit. Rovio never established ages for these characters, but based on Chronicler's hairdo, it's fair to assume he's a few hundred years old. That's clearly an 18th century cut. That alone would be the highlight of the two, but I simply cannot look past Professor's body proportions. Some of HK98's best work ever. But that should be no surprise, given they were behind all of these revered 2013 cancelled lines. These two distinguished piggies, along with the Young Bucks and Ross and Mechanic, would comprise an all-new pig assortment, set to release in 2013. A nice duality and a fantastic assortment that would have easily topped the original accessorized pigs. They'd even come with Bad Piggies hang tags, scaled to match the 4th gen ones that were in vogue at the time. It's not difficult to imagine a world where content creators were goofing around with these four, enabling them to create all sorts of wild adventures, incorporating all corners of Piggy society. Personally, I'm just thankful they weren't a complete afterthought, even if the set ultimately didn't make the cut. So what do you think? Are these the best piggies ever made? I don't think I need to ask you whether you'd buy them. Clearly this was a major missed opportunity, even if the Angry Birds brand as a whole was starting to fall off. And with that said, if you have any comments, questions, or complaints, you can let me know down in the comment section below. And with that I say, peace out.